Okay, this video is all about the meanings for list 30 words. And I'm going to be going to a PowerPoint to talk about the meanings. Now, as you have seen in your book so far, and in the lesson, if you watched the video yesterday and today, the teacher in the video told you that there were Greek word parts being used for these words. And if you know what the word part means, then it can help you figure out what the entire word means. So the first word part is micro, which means small. First word we have is a microscope. You can see a picture of a microscope. I know Miss Rakowitz had them in her classroom, in the back of her classroom. When you look into a microscope, it makes something very small, micro, look very, very big. Usually it magnifies it several hundred times. The next word for micro is a microbe. A microbe is a microorganism, a very small organism. It's so small that it can't be seen with the naked eye. And the naked eye just means if I look at it with my regular eyesight, I'm not going to see it at all. So a microbe is microscopic, which means you would have to use a microscope to actually see it. And the third word for micro is a microphone. So a microphone takes sound, a small amount of sound, and then it amplifies it, makes it big so a lot of people can hear it. Okay, the second and third word parts, bio means life. I think you probably know that. And you might have already known that graph means write. So when we look at the next word, we look at a biography. And we've talked about this in language arts before. It's a book about a person's life. And I just pulled up two examples, Benjamin Franklin and Albert Einstein. Someone took their entire life and wrote their life from when they were born to when they died so you could know all about them. Most of the time, if people are famous or well known for something, people will write a biography about them, and there's even a biography section in the library. Then we have autobiography. This is also the story of a person's life, but this time the person tells the story themselves. It's in their own words. I found there's lots and lots of examples, but I found Helen Keller, The Story of My Life, and then the autobiography of Mark Twain, a famous author. I think we talked about him before when we talked about the Gilded Age. Okay, the word therm, the word part therm means heat. So we have thermal, and I have a picture here of some thermal underwear. It is, when clothing is thermal, that means you wear it close to your skin, and the material is designed to hold in heat. There's all kinds of different thermal clothing. Then we have thermometer. There's a thermometer you put under your tongue to see if you have a fever. There's a more traditional thermometer that might be hanging outside on your porch, tell you what the temperature is. And then on one side you see Celsius, and on the other side you see Fahrenheit. Then we have a thermos, and I put Olaf on there because I like Olaf. So a thermos keeps your food either cold or hot until you're ready to eat it. It is an insulator. Talked about that before as well. Okay, the next word part is auto. Auto means self. Now, for the word automatic, automatic means something that works with little or no human control. And I had a little trouble thinking of a good example for automatic, but then I thought about a car. So most cars these days have what is called an automatic transmission. And if you've driven with your parents, you've seen something like this on their car. So an automatic transmission switches gears automatically. The person driving does not have to think about what gear the car is in. It switches automatically. And then this is called a manual transmission. I have a friend who will only drive a manual transmission. With the manual, it doesn't switch gears by itself. You have to know when to push it and pull it to switch gears. So automatic, it does something without any human control. Then we have automobiles. So this down here is a Model T. Since we talk about assembly line, there's a Model T, and then this is just a modern automobile. And autograph, that is your name in cursive, Mrs. Harshaw's autograph. Echo, that word part stands for the environment. So the word on the list is ecology. Ecology is the study of the relationship between organisms and their environment and the balance between these relationships. We talked about ecosystems in science class. Kind of the same kind of concept. How do all of the plants and animals and the environment work together? That is ecology. Okay, the next word part is homo, which means same. And these are both things here that we've talked about in language arts, and I'm sure you've talked about in other grades before 5th grade. Homographs are also multiple meaning words, okay? They look exactly the same, and you have to look at the context to figure it out. So if you look at this example with the saw, it says he used a saw to cut the board. So obviously that's this saw right here, the cutting instrument. Then I saw my friend after school. And that one would be you saw the person using your eyes. So homographs, they look exactly the same. They have different meanings based on the context of the sentence. Homophones, they sound the same, but they're not spelled the same and they don't mean the same thing. So we've got flour for cooking, a flower you see outside, a pair for eating, and a pair, which means two. For example, a pair of socks. We have night, nighttime, or an actual traditional knight in armor. These are homophones. Tele means distant or far off. And I thought it would be fun talking about the word telephone to show you what some of the telephones were like that I used when I was a kid. So this one at the top is called a rotary phone. You might know about it, you might not. And when I was very young, we had a rotary phone. So you put, if you want to dial the number 9, you put your finger in the 9 and you dial it all the way over here, and then it goes back down again and makes a noise. So it took a lot longer to dial a phone. So whenever you see older people struggling with their cell phones, you have to try to remember, this is what we grew up with. And then when I got a little older, woohoo, this phone down here, this was really modern when I was a teenager. Now you don't have to use a rotary dial anymore. You just push buttons and you can dial the phone. And you see this little thing here? A cord. So we didn't have phones that were cordless when I was young. If I wanted to talk to my friend or I wanted to talk to my boyfriend when I was a teenager, I had to drag the cord as far as it would go and go in a room and shut the door and try to get some privacy. And everybody would know you were on the phone because the cord was sticking out in the hallway. And of course, up here, obviously, a cell phone. So you guys never had to experience these phones. When I was older and an adult, I finally got a cell phone. That would be the first time ever that I'd ever use a phone that I could carry with me somewhere and it still worked. That was a very new concept when I was a young adult. So that's just some interesting pictures of telephones. And we have telescopes. Here's a traditional telescope. It might be one that you have at your house that you, if you like to look out into the nighttime sky. My husband is very interested in astronomy. And this is the Hubble telescope, just to show you a much larger version of a telescope. And we have television. And I did the same thing I did with the telephones, just because I think it's fun. Up here in the corner, this is a 1970s television. This is what I watched TV on when I was a little girl. It was in like a wooden box. It almost looked like a piece of furniture. It had wooden legs. When I had to dust the furniture, which was one of my chores, I had to dust the television off. So in the 1970s, it looked like that. And yes, there were only a few channels. And that was it. Then we get to the 1980s and 1990s, and televisions started looking a little more modern. Televisions used to be extremely heavy. And if you got a new TV, trying to lug your old TV out of the house was extremely difficult because they weighed so much. And now we come to the modern television, which is flat screen. They're very lightweight, and the picture quality is very high. Okay, word part photo. Photo actually means light. And we have the word photocopy, and this is a photocopier. Most adults do not particularly like photocopiers because if you ask them, they'll tell you that they always jam. And you have to figure out where the paper got stuck and open up all the different parts of the copier until you find the paper jam. It never fails whenever you're in a hurry as a teacher. You've got to make a copy and it's almost time for school to start, or the kids are almost done art class and you've got 2 minutes left before you have to pick them up. The copier jams. And you have to try to figure out the jam, and you can't figure it out, and you don't get your copies. The photocopiers are very useful, but can be highly aggravating because they seem to break down all the time, and Mrs. Weaver is always putting signs on the copier and saying, "I called a repairman," because they break down a lot. Then we have photography and photographs. Up at the top for photography, you're using a camera to take pictures. Down here, this would be what traditional photographs look like. In the old days, you would use your camera and take pictures, and then you would take the roll of film and you would take it to a place that developed the film. And then you would pick up your pictures and you would see your pictures and they would be surrounded by this white border. Nowadays, of course, we do pictures on our phone and we just upload them, download them. So it's very different now. Okay, that is our vocabulary lesson for today, just to let you know what all of those spelling words mean. So now you're going to go in your spelling book and you're going to look at page 110. And you are going to figure out those answers. Once you figure those out, you are going to put the answers from the book into today's LMS quiz. You can either do it in the book first if you want, or you can just open up the quiz and put the answers right into the quiz. All right, have a great day.